I will be the first one to admit that sometimes I just can't wait to decorate for Christmas. This is a picture of our Christmas tree in the parsonage. It's not a decorator tree, one of the fancy ones. It's just a very traditional Christmas tree. And there's something about decorating the tree and decorating the whole house that just brings me so much joy. When I was little, my parents used to make me wait until the middle of December before we would decorate. My sister's birthday is on December 13th, and that's when they would usually go out and get the tree. And then my dad would put up the lights on it, and we'd hang all the decorations and listen to Christmas music and drink eggnog. And it was so much fun. I just had so much joy with that. And when I became an adult, and I got to choose when to decorate with my kids, we decided to decorate the day after Thanksgiving. So the day after Thanksgiving, we would get everything out and decorate the tree. And then last year, right after we were done with Thanksgiving dinner and the dishes were cleaned up and the kitchen was all clean, I got out the boxes and we decorated the tree on Thanksgiving evening. And then this year, the morning of Thanksgiving, as my husband was getting the turkey ready, and I brought the boxes in from the garage, and I opened them up, and I was looking at all the ornaments, and he looks at me and he goes, you want to decorate, just go ahead and do it. So before Thanksgiving dinner was on the table, the tree was up and decorated. That's all I needed, just to go ahead and do it, and it was done. But I was filled with so much joy. And I was wondering, what is it about this decorating that brought me so much joy? And then I realized what I was doing. Every time I would take an ornament out of the box, I would look at it, I would touch it, feel it, and look at it and think about what made that ornament special. This one's my favorite. This one is Father Christmas. And it was my dad's when he was a little boy. It was red once upon a time. And even when I was a little girl, it had already turned brown. And when I was little, I thought it was Scrooge because it was brown. It didn't look like Father Christmas. But it was special because it was my dad's. And so I would tell my mom, hey, can I hang Scrooge on the tree this year? And she would laugh. And every year when I put it on, it makes me think of my dad, and it makes him feel close to me. And it's just very special and brings me joy. And I have other ornaments that are just really special too. This one I painted quite a few years ago, and it looks like my grandmother when she was young. And so I call it my mini angel. And every time I take it out, I think of my grandma, and it feels like she's close to me. And I have so many special ornaments. I have ones that my kids made when they were little. I have ornaments that my friends gave me. And every time I hang it on the tree, it's like they're present with me. And then I have this ornament, which hangs always in the center of the tree in the very front. And it has a special place for a reason. It has baby Jesus inside and a little angel on top, and it's encased in a heart. And this one reminds me of the paradox of the incarnation. God came to earth as a baby. Jesus was divine, but fully human as well. It makes me realize that God coming to earth as a baby means that God knew about pain and God knew about fear. Jesus is Emmanuel, God with us. Jesus is God with us in pain. Pain is a reality of human experience, and truth be told, most of us try to avoid it at any cost, but pain comes anyway. The same can be said about fear. None of us likes feeling afraid, but fear and worry seem to have a way of worming their way into our lives, even though we try not to be afraid. But God is with us in both of these. The psalmist knew this and wrote, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of the city, it shall not be moved. So when we are experiencing the earth changing, our mountains shaking, the water roaring and foaming, how do we tap into a river that brings gladness? In verse 10 we're told, be still and know I am God. Be still. That's not easy when life seems to be in upheaval, but that's what we're told to do. Be still. Silence prepares us to receive more fully God's presence. It takes practice to enter into the way of silence. Often our inner noise bubbles up, and we have to learn how to acknowledge it without judgment and patiently wait for it to pass. When it does, the silence becomes a prayer without words. Some ancient Christians called it prayer of the heart. Today it's sometimes called contemplative prayer or centering prayer. For many people, sitting in silence can be a struggle, but it's a struggle worth taking on. Having a spiritual practice of silent prayer without words helps ground us in the present moment and commune with God. It's in these moments of conscious awareness of God's presence that I've experienced immense joy. Paul seemed to be pointing to this joy that God gives in his letter to the Philippians, which is the most joy-filled letter in the New Testament. He didn't seem to have much of a reason to be experiencing joy because when he wrote the letter, he was in prison, uncertain of his future, and cut off from his mission. The whole letter gives the context for his joy, but one verse seems to hold the essence of it. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. The Lord is near. For Paul, the Lord is present even in the difficult times of imprisonment. The Lord is present in the comfort of the Spirit and in the loving prayers of other believers. The Lord is also present with the Philippians, working reconciliation, strengthening prayer, and deepening love, even when life wasn't very comfortable or physically secure. Things don't have to be going perfectly to rejoice. That's the difference between happiness and joy. Happiness depends on positive conditions. Joy happens when God is present and people feel it. Which means it can happen in a depressed economy, for people living in poverty, people in prison, anywhere. For Mary, it burst forth when she arrived pregnant and unwed to her cousin Elizabeth's house. Elizabeth's excited energy was caught by Mary, and Mary started singing. She praised God for turning the world upside down, for bringing down the powerful and filling the hungry. As Barbara Brown Taylor says, when God is present, doing God stuff, people cannot seem to contain themselves. They sing and dance. They open their mouths and poetry falls out. They drop what they are doing and rejoice right where they are, no matter who is watching. Joy doesn't happen when we get what we want. It's more likely to happen when our own ideas crash and burn because God's ideas are so much better than ours. It's in the wilderness. It's in the I surrender moments with God that joy is most likely to occur. That's another way to know God is present, because no one else knows how to make life out of death. God is so good at coming into a dark room and turning on all the lights, surprising everyone the last thing they ever expected. Pure joy. Is it any wonder that the hymns we sing during Advent and Christmas are full of joy? Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Jesus was sent to be God with us, always. In our struggles and in our rejoicing, God is with us. In silence and singing, God is with us. And whatever we as a church are called to, and all the ways we are sent into the world, God is with us. So don't be surprised if someday soon God turns on the lights and gives us new reasons to rejoice. Amen. Amen.